Well, happy martini time on Guru Poornima Day. I've been talking about that all day today. Today is the full moon of July, and it's called Guru Poornima as the Guru's moon, the largest moon of the year. So I've been writing about one of my gurus, Swami Muktananda, and my second marriage, which he performed in 1968. And so I thought I'd just finish up the day talking some more about the guru and what that means. So let's start with that. All I can speak is from my own experience, and I do know that in 1968, when I had a shattering spiritual awakening, I knew that I needed to find a master, teacher. I didn't know it was a guru. I just needed to find somebody who could give me direction and tell me how to ride this tiger. And in Indian mythology, the guru is represented by Ganesh, a little elephant, a little fat little belly, and he is the threshold guardian. In other words, if you want to get to the other shore, if you want to get to liberation, if you want to get to your truth, if you want to get to who you are, your true nature, you got to get through the door. You got to have. You don't have to have Ganesh, but you have to have somebody who can remove the obstacles. In other words, you need a spiritual therapist. See, in our culture, the guru is represented by the therapist. And before that, it was the priest. But in the secular, rational world, the therapist replaced the priest, except in Everyone Loves Raymond, and he goes to talk to the priest. But the idea is somebody who removes obstacles. You're stuck. Now we're stuck because when our growth is awakened, but the world we live in is too small. When our growth is awakened, it's kick-started, it's stimulated, there's something alive in me, but my thoughts of who I am is too small. You see, I suddenly feel like I'm in a tin can. The world's too small. And when the world is too small, it creates double binds. When the world's not too small, when I'm on a roll and everything's working, and I'm following in the footsteps of my father or whatever, and everything's great, you don't need a master. You don't need a therapist. You don't need a guru. You don't need a priest. Everything's fine. But when the natural expansion of your life hits the limitations of the world you have created, then everything becomes a double bind. You're lose-lose. And that's the labyrinth of the myth and Theseus and the Minotaur. The labyrinth is a place where every choice looks the same. Go left, go right, I don't know. They both look the same to me. I need a guide. I'm lost. I need somebody to help me get out of here. So that's kind of like the feeling that stimulates the need for a guide, a teaching, a remover of obstacles. See, in India, they're very natural in their mythology, and they use animals because it's a culture that grew up in the jungle. So quite naturally, if you want to get through the jungle, you get behind an elephant. And so the God who removes obstacles is an elephant. And actually in India, the Ganesh is the son of God. He is the son of Shiva and Parvati. So the elephant, this little Ganesh figure, is the son of God. So we have the same system here, only our son of God has a human form. You know, Jesus, right? But he removes obstacles. He guides. He is the way. So in that sense, Jesus is a guru. It's just different terms. You know. So this whole guru means remover of obstacles. So, you know, in the 50s, 30s, for all prior to the 60s, there was really no need for, and basically that was, you know, that was just the beginning of the psychiatrist. In the movie we just saw a week ago, 1946 movie with Cary Grant, one of the characters who got the couple through their particular obstacles was a psychiatrist. And he was spouting Freudian analytical terms, you know, labeling the mind and labeling these people's neurosis and all that, like some expert, you know, like, well, he was. So this psychiatrist became the one who had the map. The one who had the map that could get you out of your fix. So then that's kind of like moved to therapist and counselor and spiritual guide and you know, any or your neighbor, you know. But then somebody who can help you get through the double bind of the labyrinth where you're stuck. You see. So when you begin to grow. And then you could put it in the terms of when your soul awakens, if you want to. But anyway, a lot, you know, we have different words for everything. And I like to say when you realize that what you've been seeking for satisfaction no longer works. That's a good way to put it. When you know, if you're on a roll and you're happy buying new stuff, and that works for you, fine. You know, if everything's working, fine. But when things stop working, and instead of going forward, you're kind of like, you know, we had a Volkswagen that had a rusty bottom, so it leaked water. So if it was raining, the water would come up in the bottom of the car, and if you put the brakes on, the water would rush forward and then splash back on you. So when life begins to splash back on you, you know you've got a rusty bottom there. This idea of a guru really entered into our culture in the 60s. That's when real gurus came here. As far as I know, the only one that really lasted and created something that is lasting and that didn't fall afoul of mismanagement of his organization or fall afoul of being accused of sexuality was Swami Satchidananda, who created Yogaville, which exists between Charlottesville and Farmville on the James River. And Swami Satchidananda came here in the 60s on invitation. All of these gurus came to the West. They would go to Europe and then they would come here on invitation. People would go to meet them in India, feel a resonance, a connection, invite them to come to talk and teach, and then they would get invited to America, and the response would be so great. It'd be kind of like getting a YouTube hit. Suddenly you got 10 million hit likes. So they were getting likes. And then they would create groups. And then they would create ashrams. And then they would create yoga teaching systems, you see. Transcendental meditation is a teaching system. So Yogaville is a yoga ashram. The ashram there, Satchidananda Ashram. Ashram just means the Guru's house. But that ashram there, which is in Yogaville. Yogaville is a community that has a mayor, and it's on the map, and a road sign, and it's just like a regular town. But inside of it you have the ashram, which houses the swamis who teach, and the dormitories, and the teaching rooms, and the library, etc. And you have this temple built down on the river called the Lotus. So go look it up on the internet, Yogaville or the Lotus or whatever. But this is a spiritual center that is like a spiritual battery. So Satchidananda created a spiritual battery that contains his teaching in the architecture and in the teaching and in the particular place, you see, so that if you go there, you can get charged up. It's as simple as that. So this spiritual energy that a guru, a master has, can be felt. Is a vibration. And when you are awakening or sensitive to that heart vibration, wah, 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 you feel it. Wah, 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 wah. And you can't leave it. And you want to stay there. And you want to sit in it. And you want to be it. And you begin to find that center where you have this wah, wah, wah is your true home. And it becomes portable. So I met my first guru in 1970. It was Swami Rama. And I felt that wah, 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 wah. And I had the good fortune and the bad fortune of meeting two masters in the 70s, but both of them died 2 or 3 years after I met them. So I met them late in their life, in their 80s. So I met Rama in 1970, and he died in 1972. But in just those 2 years, and I only met him when he came to America, and I would go up to Cleveland and meet him, and I met him once at where he was at a house. And just those 3 or 4 meetings were transformative meetings. It's like meeting a spiritual chiropractor who adjusts you, and you feel, you feel obstacles removed. You feel natural. You feel at home, you see. But then you go back to the world and you're back out of posture. Because our culture is out of joint. Our culture has a bad posture. So when we identify and get aligned with the culture, we're like that. You see, I need a chiropractor. I can't. You see, and so you keep going and teaching. The Dharma teaching is the guru. In other words, the master is the teaching. That's what Buddha said when he died. He says, don't take, I'm gone. Take refuge in the Dharma and the Buddha nature within you. So you judge all teaching by you, by your heart. You see. But teach the refuge in the Dharma, the life teaching. It's a living teaching. So it's a refuge with the living teaching. And when a person, a human being, speaks, lets the Dharma speak through them, they become a spiritual teacher. In the sense that they're not just quoting some scripture, you see, through their own practice and sacrifice and study and life experience. They get cleaned out. It's kind of like getting ready for a colonoscopy. Just had one a few days ago. So I know what it means to be clean. So spiritual practice is like that. You got to take that liquid, get you cleaned out, so the Dharma can whistle through you without any obstacles, like a flute. You know, you don't want to have any obstacles in there. Got to flush them out, you see. So the Guru is kind of like a huge X-Lex. You like this? You take a drink of the Guru and you're going to get cleaned out. I was laughing. I said I was so clean my farts were whistling Cole Porter songs. So, oh me. Anyway, the Guru is also laughter. A lot of laughter is around gurus. They're comics. But they can be very stern. So, when you're hanging out with the Guru, there's a heart yearning to be looked at by the Guru. To be looked at. You know. Well, it's kind of like when you're in love with somebody, you want to be looked at by them. Or when you want to, you see somebody you're attracted to, you want them to look at you. And it's funny, you know, with people, is that you look at somebody, but when they look back at you, you look away. Oh, I wasn't looking. Oh, let me, you get interested in scratching yourself, or you got somebody, you got interested in looking at some wart on your hand or something, you know. And then you look back up, you see. But there's something in the eyes, something in the look. With Swami Muktananda, he was a Siddha yoga, a Siddha yogi. Siddha means they have the power of transmission, the power of transmitting spiritual energy to you by looking at you. And this was true. Muktananda could look at you and turn your bones to rubber. Now I didn't. I remember one dramatic example of that electronic power that feels like electricity. I was at his ashram in Miami, and we were waiting for him to come into the room. We're all sitting there, you know, maybe 500 people, and 300, I don't know. And when he walked into the room, there was a bam, crack, like lightning just hit outside your house. And all the hair on your arms and neck and everything stood up. No, so there was a tremendous release of energy. That's what a lightning strike is. There's a grounding. There's a potential up here, and there's something sticking up here, and bam, the touch. You see. Of course, if lightning hits you, it turns you to a sender. Well, if the Guru hits you, it can turn your ego to a sender, you see. So this is one reason why, too, a lot of people go nuts around the Guru. A lot of people can't handle the truth. Speaking of the movie, I forgot, Tom Cruise. You can't handle the truth. So truth is power. Spiritual energy and power. And we can't handle it here in America. We can't handle the cosmic truth. We can't handle the truth of God. We can't handle the truth of the cosmos. Because we have these little egos. We have these little material egos. See? And so we can feel it. We can vibrate around it, you see, collect around it. People will collect around a guru or master like iron filings around a magnet. Put out a sheet of paper, put a magnet under it, throw some iron filings, it'll form all around it. Spontaneously. Like ants around the queen. Like bees around the queen. You see. Like the wind around a hurricane. This energy. And we recognize this energy because it's our energy. And so the Guru then, I'm just looking at different ways of looking at this. So we just don't go poo-poo, you see. And there are fake gurus, and there are cults. And a cult is a iron magnet that collects iron filings, but it doesn't let them go. It doesn't want you to go. You see, and that becomes a cult then, and the people are trapped. See, but that's not a guru. That's not a spiritual master, because the role of the spiritual master, of the spiritual guru, is to provide a transitional place from your ego to the other shore, which is being free from dependence upon your alignment with your culture. See, our egos are in alignment with the culture that creates them. We live in a consumer culture. And it's materialistic because it sees everything as a machine and an object. So we live in a materialistic, rational, empirical culture, civilization. And so we see ourselves as little individuals running around with freedom. And the little guy that lives in the individual is called the ego, me. And it's very fragile. It's always fighting and always getting hurt. It's always shooting somebody that insults it. It's always at war. It's always complaining. It's always guilty. It's always looking for something, you see. And this works in our society because you buy stuff in order to to remove the pain of the ego. You go shopping. You go eating. You see, I mean, that creates our economy. It's just the way it is. You can't, and it's a functioning society. And it has good benefits, this thing we're talking to right here, you see. But there's something missing, and it's an interior. So, and the guru is all interior. The master is not in alignment with society. It's kind of like the obelisk in 2001, the Space Odyssey. Remember that movie? And it began and it ended with this obelisk that just kind of like materialized there. And the apes and the astronauts had no idea what it is. It had no reference to anything in their world, you see. So the guru, the master, has no reference in your world. You can't pin him down. You can't understand him. You can't figure him out because there's nothing that he relates to in your world. He's like Mr. Bean. Just levitates into your world and he doesn't relate to anything. Yet you can't resist him. You see. So he's ironic. He's a metaphor. See, so he points to something physical like he looks like a real person, but he's not a real person. But he is a real person. So he's a metaphor. He's both a real person, like you and me, and he's not a real person like you and me. Both at the same time, simultaneously. So the guru rests, is happy in not knowing. If you ask the guru who he is, he'll say, I don't know. When Bodhidharma came to China and met the emperor in around 400 BC, and the emperor said, who are you? And he said, I don't know. And so when Bodhidharma left, the emperor spoke to the emperor who was a Buddhist, but he didn't have the Dharma, and he talked to his assistant, and the assistant said to the emperor, who was that man? And the emperor said, I don't know. But there are two kinds of I don't knowings there. The I don't know of the emperor said, I don't know who that is, but if I had more information I could find out. I could make him fit into my known world. And the Bodhidharma, when he says I don't know, he was not talking about if I had more time I would know. He didn't know because he was not fixed. He was not, had no label. He had no identity in reference to society. So these masters are like aliens in the sense that they, through their practice and surrender, have died to the social identity, and they have a new identity that's not fixed or relevant to anything. So they really are the living example of Jesus' seed parable when he said that if a seed falls to the ground and does not die, it is alone. If it dies, it bears fruit. So the guru, in a sense, is the fruit of the death of the ego. And that's the attraction that you have to the teaching or to the master or to the spiritual teacher, is that they're inviting you to die, to give it up, to let go, to surrender, that you'll be okay. So the guru really provides a space where you can die, where you can surrender. So people go to these spiritual retreats and they go on the weekend trips, and what do they go to do? Where do they go when they do? They go to die. They go to die, you see, to let go of their worldly identity. Leave the shoes at the door. Let go of your newspapers and your cell phones, all of your attachments to the world, you see. Let go. You'll be okay, you see. So there's something about the interior that is not attached to the world as a reference to the world in the meaning of the world that is okay. But as long as we're attached to the world and the meaning of me in the world and what will people think, you see, as long as I'm worried about what will people think, then that guru looks like death. Because he's saying, let it go. And that's death, letting go. In all the British mysteries, when the murderer is cornered with the evidence and the detective inspector is pressing him to tell it, what happened, there's always this, okay, okay, here's the truth. Here's the truth, you see. So, this, I hope, I've shown a little bit of my understanding on the guru and the master and the spiritual teacher and all this, you see. And we all need it, and we're all getting it because everybody's reading some kind of spiritual teaching on the internet. It's everywhere. All the wisdom teachings are right there, and there are a lot of them out there. People, you can either, they're all free, or you can pay for a course, or whatever, you see. But here's the thing, that it is the disciple or the student that creates the guru or the teacher. It is you are the creator of the teaching when you're ready for it, you see. And so if you're not ready for it, it won't be there. So don't worry about it. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the morning.